Okay, let's call special meeting, joint meeting of the City Council and Public Finance Authority to order Tuesday, June 4th, 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Simmons?
Here.
Mr. Buttacavoli?
Here.
Ms. McKenzie? Here. Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Samayoa?
Here. We have two items in items for discussion. We'll start with item A, resolution amending and restating resolution number PFA 2019-01, adopted on May 14th, 2019. Recommendation comes from our interim finance director, Ms. Sosinski. I'll get it one day.
Yes.
Jennifer?
Hello, good evening. I'd like to reintroduce Bud Levine, who's been here a few times as our municipal finance advisor, and he'll be the one making the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
We showed up in force today.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce you to Nikki Tallman, who is with Brandis Tallman. They are the placement agent for the 2019 lease financing. Also, they were the placement agent on the Optera solar project that was done a year and a half ago or so at very successful interest rates.
Let me just, I'm sorry, sir, to make it clear to the public, we're taking on both resolutions 2019-02 and resolution number 2019-30s at the same time. Is that correct, Jennifer?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Terrific. And Rob Pankratz, who was here last time with me. I want to give you a quick update on the POB before I start on this. And as you know, in May 14th, you approved the moving forward with the validation suit to issue the pension obligation bonds. Your city attorney has done an unbelievably spectacular job with getting that through the courts. And I was informed by bond counsel today that we're running about 30 days ahead of where we estimated with the bond market as attractive with low interest rates as it is. Anything that can be done to shorten the time to get to market is very beneficial for the city. So I just wanted to let you know that that's moving along at a very nice pace. We were anticipating being able to sell bonds in mid to late September, and now we're looking at late July, early August to mid-August at the latest. So that works out very well. Turning to the issue at hand, on May 14th, you approved moving forward with the 2019 lease financing to refund the 2011 B Street COPs. The leased asset for the bonds, for the COPs that we were going to use, was a combination of several city properties, including the riverfront park. We started to move forward with it on that basis. The title company then informed us that because of the number of parcels that are involved in River Park and because of some of the complications of the legal title, it was going to be incredibly expensive to move forward using that asset. And we analyzed that to see if the financing could handle that increased cost. And the increased cost was going to be, what was quoted to us was a minimum of an additional $100,000. Keep in mind that we had budgeted $10,000 for the title insurance. But more significantly, they indicated that it might take anywhere from 6 to 8 months to get all of that data completed to be able to issue the title insurance. Now, just as I said about the POBs, we're happy that we're moving forward faster. To have that kind of a delay puts the city at risk that the interest rates could be significantly higher. So for that reason, we had to look at alternative properties, and we looked at all of them, and what we finally came up with, and those of you the two of you that were at our ad hoc committee meeting, if you remember, our initial meeting was talking about maybe doing the 2001 ABAG bonds to free up the city hall to use as an asset, but we switched to doing River Park instead. Well, now we're back. The most efficient asset to use would be the city hall, and that has 2 years left to run on the ABAG 2001 ABAG COPs that were issued. So we're now bringing forward for your approval, doing not only the 2011 refunding, but the 2001 ABAG refunding, which will free up the City Hall and allow that to be used in the new financing. There's an additional benefit to that, which is one of the additional good consequences of doing it, which is not only that we have a very viable asset, but that asset will look very good, and I'll let Nikki address that as an asset for selling the COP, because that's a more favored asset to utilize. And you have any comments on that, or okay? I agree. She's nodding her head. Okay, good. So having said that, I think rather than going through the structure, which is exactly the same as we went through before, unless there are any questions, I just want to move right to what the numbers look like with this. And so I think we want to turn to slide.
I have a question.
Question, sir?
Sure.
So on the bond that's being redone,
Yes.
City Hall, will it still term out at the same time?
Yeah, what we'll do, and I'll show you that in just a minute, but yes, what we will do, and by the way, there's another factor, that will be tax exempt, whereas the 2011 refunding portion is going to be taxable. The ABAG tax exempt bond only has 2 years left to go, so the comparable debt service that will relate in the refunding will be for the 2-year period. And then the balance will be used to cover the longer term debt. And I'll go over what effect that has on the savings in the last slide. Good question. Okay, if you turn to slide 7, this is what the bond, the COP will now look like. You'll have $7,576,000 available in sources. That'll be a COP of $6,940,000, or a lease, I should say, of $6,944,000. And then there's 2 reserve funds, $32,000 and $600,000, that will come in to be the pool of money to use for the refunding. And then we will refund the 2011 with the same number that we had shown you before, $7,225,000, and then the ABAG bond will be paid off at $220,000. And then the cost of issuance, I want to emphasize this fact, the cost of issuance will not change. Even though we have an additional refunding that we're going to be doing, the cost of doing the transaction will be the same for both refundings as it was going to be for the one refunding. In fact, the next slide will, the next slide is our required disclosures that we went through last time. Interestingly enough, the numbers are pretty close. The total interest cost, last time we said 4.35, it's 4.33 now. The financing charge, again, the cost of issuance, the same at $130,000. The net proceeds will be $6,814,000. That's the amount of the bonds that are going to be issued. The sum of all payments are $9,985,641, pretty almost identical to what they were before. The savings, you'll notice, and I'll get into this in just a minute, the gross savings are higher than what was stated in the original May 14th. It's $1,731,000. We were at $1,590,000 in that presentation. The net present value of savings is $686,000. That's over 10% of the refunded bonds. If you remember, when we passed the debt management policy, our rule of thumb was to try to exceed 3%. So we're way over that number. The next slide shows the cost of issuance breakdown, pretty much the same. We will be back to the $10,000 number for title insurance, maybe even less, using just the City Hall and the Bryant Park. And so that number pretty much stays the same. If you look at the last page, this is a significant page I know that everybody wants to look at. And if you look at the first highlighted yellow, which is the middle, that shows the difference between the old debt service on both the 2001 ABAG COP and the 2011 COP, and then the new combined debt service from the estimated for the new leasing bond for 2019. There is the $1,731,000 in gross savings. Now, there's a factor in doing the 2001 ABAG COPs that's a little different wrinkle. The savings are the savings. The issue of the debt service of the old COPs and the debt service of the new COP lease are what we represent up there with the $1,731,000. However, the 2001 ABAG COP has even though it's an obligation of the general fund, internally you've been receiving funds from both the wastewater fund and the RDA. So under this financing, you may lose the RDA reimbursement. If that occurs, then if you'll notice on the right-hand column, the savings drop to $1,566,000. But you'll see that in the first year, there's still a very substantial savings of $428,000 for the first budget year that is affected. And then after the next 2 years, which reflect the ABAG comparison with losing the RDA funds, you then jump up to almost $75,000 a year for the remaining under the old issue that was approved for the May 14th. That number was $65,000. Now, Jennifer, you wanted to make a comment on the RDA?
So what I was going to comment on that is I will be working with the Department of Finance to see if we can figure out a way to be reimbursed from the RDA funds back into the general fund for this. That is just something we have to have a further discussion with the Department of Finance on. So this is the worst case scenario, that we would not be reimbursed for that portion. It's 64% from RDA. But again, I'm going to talk with Department of Finance to see if we can get that solved.
Is that because the original debt wasn't RDA debt?
Correct. 64% is RDA and 36% is sewer or wastewater.
Yeah, originally when the 2001 ABAG was issued, it refunded an existing RDA obligation and a wastewater obligation. That's why there's been the reimbursement on those two. But with these numbers now, and by the way, and I'll let Nikki maybe address that issue, this is based on an interest rate of around 4.35% on the COPs, on the 2011 taxable portion, and anywhere between 1.5% and 2% for the 2 years on the tax exempt. But maybe Nikki might want to make a comment about the market and what the process will be for selling.
I can. So I'm Nikki Tallman with Brandis Tallman, and we are the placement agent for the financing. It's our job to access the capital marketplace for the city, and we will prepare a request for proposal, send it out to our pool of investors, about 20 investors, and ask for them to bid on the project. So we expect the interest rates to be in this range. We're in a very unique situation this week. The last 3 days, all of the benchmarks for interest rates have hit 52-week lows. The 10-year Treasury hit a 20-month low yesterday. So interest rates are very low. There's always a point at which the investors kind of bottom out and the interest rates start to climb back up. But I think this is a good estimate for now. Could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower depending on the market, but we'll find out exactly where the market is through the RFP process.
Nikki, you might want to indicate or describe the type of investor we're talking about so they don't think it's somebody sitting at home waiting for a phone call from you.
Right. These are qualified institutional buyers, so mainly banks and a variety of banks, local banks, national banks, and international banks that have public finance departments and buy municipal tax exempt and taxable paper. It's kind of a specialty within a banking branch.
Okay, well, that's our presentation, and do you have any questions on any of this?
Any questions? 'Cause If the interest rates get higher and then the return of savings is less than 5%, you guys are coming back? I mean, right now you're at 10%.
Well, no, I think what we would do, I don't think there's any chance of that happening anyway, but right now what you're doing is you're approving this, moving forward. You're giving the city manager and the mayor the authority to sign the final documents. Once the RFP process is complete, we'll come back to you, not the council, because that would be too cumbersome. We'll discuss it with you and the city manager and the finance director, and collectively, and we'll advise you on what the best proposal is. And at that point, a decision will be made to move forward or not move forward.
Okay. Any questions? Any comments from the public on this matter? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain, we'll take the motion one at a time. The first one is to adopt resolution PFA 2019-02, which will amend and reinstate resolution number PFA 2019-01.
So moved.
There's a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now we'll take, we'll take on the second part. I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2019-30, which would amend and reinstate resolution 2019-24.
So moved.
Motion by the vice mayor. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Both motions are approved with a vote of 5-0. Thank you for your
Good,
work.
thank you very much, and I will say we will come back for a presentation to the council once everything is sold and closed, and then we'll give a summary report to the council and at one of your regular meetings as to the results of the refunding.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we'll adjourn the special joint meeting and we'll convene as a regular council meeting for our city council meeting